Rain on the rails of a city that never sleeps, fog in the alleys where memory keeps the weight of a name that never fades away. Kiriko walks where shadows learn to pray, a girl with a gun in world of gleam and gray, haunted by a vow she can't throw away. If morning never comes, I'll tell you what I know. Love and lost are rivers that never stop their flow. We walk through the thunder, we sing through the pain. I'll keep calling your name when the rains fall again, morning without dawn. In your eyes I see the more. Once a bruised light, and you're no longer torn. Mario's footsteps follow, soft as a prayer, a heart that stumbles and chooses to care. Two souls tethered by a truth they can't deny, in a world where mercy and curse collide. Kiriko, your secret they'll never unveil, yet your breath is the ballast in a perilous gale. If morning never comes, I'll tell you what I know. Love and loss are rivers that never stop their flow. We walk through the thunder, we say through the pain. I'll keep calling your name when the rains fall again, morning without dawn. In your eyes I see the more. Once a girl's light, then you're no longer torn. Haunted a shadow, a distant star guides a fate that's cruel and far. But in the silence, beats we reach, breath we share, there's a promise that we're still standing there. If you reach for me when the storm won't, and I'll be the light. You reach for the gun's cold gleam, a prayer whispered in a fevered dream. If love can bend the darkest night to dawn, then maybe, just maybe, we'll carry on. Noir's echo in the quiet of the streets says we're more than the sorrow we meet. If morning never comes, I'll tell you what I know. Love and loss are rivers that never stop their flow. We walk through the thunder, we sing through the pain, and I'll keep calling your name when the rains fall again, morning without dawn. In you.
I love watching anime after midnight, and it reminds me of the early 2000s when my parents went to Paris. At home, I'd watch a bunch of anime on G4, Read or Die, Better Man, and Magical Shopping Arcade Abenobashi. I remember how it felt very special because I could do that less than 5 times. So you almost feel a sense of powerful emotion while watching anime that moves you emotionally, knowing it won't be forever. I also remember watching the Sci-Fi Network when I went to college, and later when I moved in with my brother, I watched Requiem from the Darkness and Gurren Lagann. For some reason, I didn't watch a lot of anime on Adult Swim. I love Death Note, Rurouni Kenshin, and Blood Plus, though I felt Bleach had too many episodes, and sometimes you'd be interrupted by Futurama marathons, or you see 20 episodes and then they'd replay them. But whenever I watch anime in the middle of the night, it really creates a strong nostalgia, and that brings me to Noir, Morning Without Dawn, episode 21. The episode starts with a flashback from episode 20, where Chloe asks Karika for a gun. It's evident that Karika is in a trance-like state, her eyes emotionless, as if she's in a state of brainwash. It's very unsettling. There's also sadness on her face, so it really captures her psychology, the state of someone who is chaotic and turbulent inside. Chloe aims the gun at Karika. You hear a very sad piano and violin in the background, and the setting at night with thunder at pivotal moments creates a sense of melancholy and intensity. The scene unfolds as Chloe hesitates before shooting Karika. Chloe says it is time, and about 20 seconds later she says, "For the final guidance," and she ends up shooting Karika in the forehead. As has been said many times before, this is a very controversial moment in the series, because the show starts with realistic violence. Characters die in realistic situations. Here, Karika is in a fantasy supernatural violence scenario, where she's shot in the forehead. The bullet is propelled backward, and she doesn't bleed, continuing the rest of the episode as if nothing happened. When Karika is pushed backward, her eyelids open wider, and she recalls her childhood. Images of her holding a gun as a child, killing a couple of people. It's revealed that she killed Marielle's parents. I also like the color tones where she's recalling the past. The past is strong, glowing yellows, and people's blood glows. It's very symbolic how those colors stand out. The gold yellow in flashbacks looks like a darker gold, a childhood memory that's tainted or spoiled. Marielle rushes over to Karika and checks her pulse. She is still alive. Chloe says, "It is the final guidance. The traveler needs guidance in order to travel through the wilderness. If she remembers, she will return home. If she doesn't, she will die in the wastelands." Marielle asks, "Why? What is the point?" Chloe replies, "I have faith that she'll surely remember." There's a lot to unpack here about how Chloe, and like Altina, a religious zealot, believes in what she wants to believe. Marielle is shocked by everything that's happening, but I feel a weakness. Marielle isn't reacting appropriately. She just saw her partner shot in the head, and Karika is apparently fine. I would find that shocking, given how after a gunshot in other stories, the character would usually show some bodily injury. This could be seen as a plot hole. Chloe tells Marielle that the person who killed her parents, nobody knows their real name, but they go by Yumura Karika. I really appreciate the scene because it has great pacing. Many shots move slowly, which is fitting for one of the series' climactic moments, allowing the audience to breathe. One common flaw in films is rushing through major reveals. This scene gives the audience space to absorb the information. Marielle doesn't believe Chloe. "Chloe, I know it's true, because I've seen it with my own eyes." This leads to one of the most disturbing scenes in the series, where Karika appears as a young girl after shooting Marielle's parents. Chloe is lost for words and then looks amazed by what Karika did. This moment captures Chloe's psychology. Like Karika, she was raised by Altina and believes that killing and bloodshed serve a higher purpose. They're both brainwashed as children. It's revealed later that Marielle's parents refused to let her join the Soldats or be selected as a candidate for the Noir prophecy, because they didn't want her to become like Chloe and Karika. But it's also true that children who grow up around violence are desensitized to it and may justify acts of violence, losing empathy. A comparable example is the film 300. It portrays the Spartan culture where war, survival, and strength define virtue. History channels have discussed Spartan trials where children have to kill a slave to prove that they are a man. There could be whipping contests where they tie two children to a tree, and whoever gives up first makes their family look weak, or where in order to marry a woman, Spartan men are expected to kidnap and beat up a woman, and if she can't fight back, she becomes his wife. Noir touches on the psychological damage and lifelong trauma caused by brainwashing, and movies like 300 and the History Channel talking about the controversial customs of the ancient Spartans, how it led to a culture of children growing up to be desensitized and normalized toward violence. Just like Chloe in Noir. Another big talking point is how to feel about the reveal of Karika as Marielle's parents' killer. I find it lackluster and predictable because such reveals happen often in stories. It's disturbing and unsettling, but also illustrates Karika's lifelong trauma. There's a trend in anime of characters enduring lifelong trauma and tragedy. For example, Sasuke in Naruto experiences family annihilation and manipulation that awakens his powers, while Tanjiro in Demon Slayer faces immense loss as the series progresses. I think these stories exist to make anime darker and more mature, resonating with ordinary people who face death, loss, dysfunctional families, violence, and identity issues. It's a trend that anime often explores. In American animation, Ed, Edd and Eddy. The Big Picture show revealed why Eddie tried to scam the neighborhood kids for money. He was trying to impress his older brother, who turned out to be a major bully. Eddie learns at the end that he doesn't need to be cool by imitating a jerk. People respect you when you take accountability, treat friends right, and own your mistakes. It's a powerful example of backstory complexity. Eddie grapples with bullying, domestic violence, emotional abuse, and you could argue generational trauma, since his brother influenced his behavior toward others. It's tragic that Eddie spends most of the series as a jerk, but by the end he takes accountability and breaks the cycle of glorifying jerk mentors, choosing decency over swagger. So it's always important to create characters with tragic or complex backgrounds. That's one of the reasons why a lot of people love anime, is because they do that all the time. And when you look at American cartoons like Ed, Edd and Eddy, when they give their characters a complicated backstory, it ends up paying off. Marielle asks Karika, "Was it you? Were you the one who killed them?" Karika's face, cast in shadow with her eyes half in by hair, shows two tears tracing down her cheek. It's a stark, symbolic reveal that she's the one who did it, carrying that burden her entire life. They also play Salva Nos, a slower version of the series' main theme, anchored by piano rather than electric guitars. It's performed in a mournful, operatic style, adding layers of sorrow and longing. Salva Nos 2, a variation on the same theme, deepens the mood and underscores Karika's possible plea for death or salvation, especially as she feels Marielle should sentence her. The scene cuts to Altina praying before a mural, a tapestry depicting a high priestess flanked by two maidens with swords, flowers in their hair, symbolizing the early, true Noir. This image reinforces Altina's authority and intuition, her role as a high priestess who sees a prophecy come into fruition with chilling calm. It also helps establish her as a powerful villain. She destroys lives with little remorse, a reminder that real-world sociopathy exists among those who justify the ends by any means. Chloe walks away from Marielle and Karika, almost without remorse. The High Priestess blesses the newly born at their birth. Those chosen among them go through the Noir trials. Chloe tells Marielle that she herself was chosen at birth in the Noir trials, but her parents, Laurent and Odette, refused, and they were executed for treason. The episode employs steady, intercut flashbacks of Marielle's sorrow as she recalls the day her parents were killed. It's a strong use of memory to illuminate how the past shapes the present. It's revealed that Karika left the rooftop by descending stairs. A door creaks open, and Marielle follows, showing that even after learning the truth, Marielle cares about Karika. Chloe smiles and gazes toward the rain-soaked streets of Paris, thinking, "I will be waiting for you at the manor." This hints that Chloe doesn't entirely care for Karika, but is driven by the prophecy, and yet there's a hint of genuine inspiration in her attitude toward Karika. Later, in episode 24, a scene shows Chloe kissing Karika in what resembles a baptism, though they're in a pool and completely naked. This invites questions about Chloe's feelings for Karika, whether romantic, religious, or something more complex. It's tempting to explore Chloe's psychology on video, but what's clear is that she exhibits sociopathic tendencies, a disregard for remorse, yet a willingness to gamble on a prophecy unfolding. And it also could be clear that Chloe admires Karika because Chloe sees her as a god figure. Rain begins to fall as the camera lingers on the gun Chloe used, its barrel wet from the downpour. The image becomes a symbol of the story turning darker, heavier with tragedy and inevitable violence. A very sad song plays as Karika ventures through the rainy streets of Paris, taking on assassins who don't want the Noir prophecy to happen. The lyrics go, "I suddenly remember a sad song. I am alone, wandering the vast lands of illusions. Even now what you gave me I did not want to forget. So I strain to hear the distant waves alone." What I like about the song is that it isn't lengthy, but it's sung with power, like hearing a powerful Japanese karaoke performance that brings you to tears. I see it as an allegory for Karika's mental state. Loneliness, a sense that she's a prophet in the Noir trials, living in a world of illusion because her life diverges so much from others who aren't hunted by prophecy. The line about the distant waves alone evokes the end credits in Noir, where Karika walks a lonely, barefoot, sunlit beach, perhaps seeking inner peace and grappling with the guilt of what she's done. It underscores her isolation. As she walks, Marielle chases after her, showing that she's genuinely concerned for Karika, while Chloe remains unconcerned. The bond between Marielle and Karika, two humans who still care for one another, sets them apart from the others in the series. That contrast, Chloe and Altina's certainty about fate versus Marielle, and Karika's acceptance of accountability, drives much of the drama. Is there a divine purpose, or do we shape our own lives? A voice in my head says I'd sell my soul to bear Karika's pain because she's searching for meaning while carrying a heavy past. Later, soldats, relentless assassins, continue to chase Karika. It's sad, but it feels fitting for this world. When bad things pile up on a character, audiences may accept a grim realism, even if it seems exaggerated. I also find it powerful to watch Karika walk in the rain, vulnerable and unsettled, because it visually conveys her inner turmoil. The animation is striking. The color palette highlights Karika's white jacket against blues and blacks, with rain-soaked streets, buildings, and a graveyard of the episodes, and emphasizing her isolation within the vast world of the soldats. Rain becomes a prominent, pounding motif that amplifies the sadness and atmosphere. Noir's emotional depth and its depiction of trauma make the series timeless. If someone like Quentin Tarantino adapted Noir, imagine the intensity of the emotional depth he could bring to the material. The graveyard shootout begins. The score, sounding both symphonic and operatic, feels like an allegory for Karika embracing her inner darkness and becoming an unstoppable killer. She takes down an opponent with a long sword using a pickaxe, despite most soldats wielding revolvers. The chase, the improbable survival, and the almost superhuman stealth strain believability, but they serve the mood and themes. A chilling shot shows Karika silently closing in on a gun-toting foe in the graveyard, slitting his spinal area with brutal efficiency. She then stands on a hill and fires, ending another life. Karika recites the Noir prayer. Noir, it is a name of an ancient fate to maidens who govern death to the depths of hell's fire. Their hearts lure the lost children. This moment signals that Karika is brainwashed and that an inner evil has awakened. Her transformation, from ordinary person to awakened assassin, then to someone capable of deep remorse, suggests multiple personalities triggered by trauma. Karika tells Marielle, "I cannot atone." Marielle catches up to Karika and aims her own gun at her, but they lock eyes. Karika pleads, "What's wrong? Do it." Marielle lowers her gun, trembling, and Karika collapses in despair. This is a potent exploration of friendship, guilt, and the burden of a Noir prophecy. It parallels Altina's arc. One character seeks the end, the other risks losing themselves to it. "Shoot me now. Kill me now. Shoot me, I'm begging you, please." Karika cries. Marielle resists, then solemnly swears, "The next time we meet, I will not fail. I swear it." The episode ends with Karika on her knees, sobbing, hoping Marielle will come to kill her. A final reprise of Salvanos plays as Karika recites the Noir prayer again. Her eyes take on a lifeless, almost hollow look, like Altina in the final 8 episode, where in the final episode Altina has the same lifeless look, because Altina was sexually assaulted as a child, tying Karika's trauma to broader Noir themes. The contrast between Karika's overwhelmed humanity and Altina's cold, prophetic ruthlessness reinforces the show's exploration of trauma, manipulation, and the cost of belief. In my view, Morning Without Dawn is one of the greatest episodes of this anime because it crystallizes a series of emotional depth like few others. Yumura Karika, though the series remains quite esoteric, stands as one of the most masterfully written characters in any medium, and she epitomizes a tragic villain who is also deeply sympathetic. Some viewers call Noir melodramatic, but melodrama, rightly understood, builds sadness to illuminate character, and this episode avoids feeling manipulative. It feels earned. The episode offers a powerful journey into the mystery connecting Marielle and Karika, and it delves into burdens Karika carries as she walks through a life shaped by violence. It also traces Marielle's evolution, from a lone, ruthless killer to someone capable of caring enough about Karika to hesitate before delivering a fatal blow. Altina's brief presence is a deliberate, deft touch. Karika's suffering largely springs from Altina's decision that she is fit to be the Noir prophecy. The episode, then, becomes a meditation on how one life's blind allegiance to a grand design can inflict immeasurable pain on others. Noir is threaded with themes of loneliness, depression, self-worth, forgiveness, responsibility, fate, and the danger of obedience to beliefs that harm the world. This installment is an emotional roller coaster, delivering anger toward Chloe and Altina for their apathy, sympathy for Karika, and unease at Chloe's reaction to Karika's acts when they were young. It's especially wrenching to see Karika beg for death, and equally affecting to watch Mario walk away at the song's close, the music intensifying the sense of unresolved tension and ominous possibility. Some critics say Noir relies too heavily on dialogue, but to me, well-crafted dialogue in this show is a strength, akin to the prestige storytelling seen in acclaimed dramas like The Sopranos, where sharp, meaningful dialogue does the heavy lifting. Morning Without Dawn for me is a pinnacle. It sets up the four main characters' trajectories, amplifies a spectrum of emotions, and leaves you eager to see how everything will resolve. In short, this episode isn't just pivotal, it defines the tonal and thematic core of Noir. It's a masterclass in character psychology, atmosphere, and storytelling, an emotional and narrative high point that lingers long after the credits roll.